Week 18 of 50, Edwin Moses. Everyone who has signed up for $4.22 a month or more at patreon.com/DGAF poker player got a lead up to this episode yesterday. It just showed up for them on the Patreon app and wherever they listen to podcasts. Important announcement, you can now listen to every drop of sessions on Spotify and or anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Just go to Patreon, copy your personal RSS feed, and then paste it wherever you want to listen. Lead-ups are private drops of sessions in which I share everything that goes on in my life when I'm not at the poker table. They are typically much more intimate than the public drops of sessions. And according to hundreds of patrons, many of whom have been listening to this podcast since 2018, lead-ups are the best mental escapes available in audio form. Perfect for commutes, workouts, walks, or just trying to fall asleep after a busy day. If you too want the real shit, all you gotta do is commit to 422. But wait, there's more. For that $4.22 a month, less than one big blind for most of you, you also get access to all 8 seasons of sessions. And at that point, you will never be left with nothing to listen to again. You don't have to listen to every drop of sessions to get caught up in the story. You can simply pick and choose the titles that look interesting to you, and that should do the trick. But wait, there's even more. Included in that $4.22 a month, less than a gallon of gas in California, you also get membership to Patron Discord, the platform where listeners from all over the world go to have discussions and share their stories. I just got an email today from a patron I hadn't heard from in a long time, but I met in Vegas one time, this really cool, interesting dude, and I just want to confirm. I replied, "Is it okay to read this?" I just want to confirm that it is okay, and I'll read it in next week's public drop, if it is. Anyways, you can check out all the details of all the perks that come with each subscription tier at patreon.com/DGAF poker player. All right, we got through that quickly, sound guy. We got this promo down to 2 minutes. It was way too long before. So good job editing that down. Okay, last the patrons heard in that aforementioned lead up, 'twas Monday, May 5th, 2025, Cinco de Mayo. I had kind of crashed mentally after the $1 million game. Not in a terrible way, just I was going so hard that week. My adrenaline was so up to get me through all the stuff I was doing. Field reporter, pregame show, recap show, commentary, watch party, in addition to all the stuff I normally do. So I wasn't sleeping a bunch, and I just had that adrenaline for the busy week, and then you're going to crash after a week like that. And, I did my dad's stuff in San Diego, and I caught up on this podcast, which I fell behind on during the $1 million game week. And I wasn't feeling good at all Monday morning, May 5th. I had one drink the night before. I had a couple of beers, but I had one drink at a restaurant I went to. And I don't know if it was just poured so strong or what, but I felt like I got drugged. And we had returned an appetizer. And I was wondering if maybe that pissed off the bartender because we were eating at the bar. And we asked, what's better? We were at Lucille's, me and Miss Scorsese, and I said, what's better, the fried okra or the fried pickles? And she said, fried pickles. We'd had the okra before. It was good. The pickles were not great, and they were gigantic. And it was daunting. It was a whole tray of pickles with batter that was falling off. And we don't send stuff back very often, but we sent that back. And I wondered if that pissed her off because it was her recommendation. I don't know. Most likely I was not drugged. I just don't have the same tolerance to alcohol that I used to. I'm eating a lot less than I used to, and it makes sense. But I really felt weird that night and the morning when I woke up. And, I was working and recording, and I felt good enough to go play. And another note was because I had that good session last week, I just didn't feel cursed. Every time I go into a poker session for the last year and a half, I feel like I'm dead. Like, just nothing good's going to happen. And good things happened all night for the $1,000 game on Lucky Lady Casino Live. And I had a really nice win. The first one in forever. The first time I was the chosen one at the table in forever. And that was enough, even though the next day I ran like shit in the small watch party game. That was enough to make me feel like, oh, yeah, you've won literally millions of dollars over the years playing poker. You should expect something good to happen. And so that was just different. And anyways, me and Miss Scorsese went to our favorite shabu place, and then we went to the gardens. I've decided that I'm going to play on Lucky Lady Casino Live sparingly. I am the owner of it, and it's just not great for the owner to play on their stream too much, in my opinion. It's just awkward with the staff, the players, everyone. So I'm going to occasionally play on it. Like a huge event like the $1,000 game, of course, I'll play on it. And I'll play in games that aren't on stream at the Lucky Lady, of course. But for now, I'm going to play my big sessions of the week, my quote unquote big sessions. They're not big currently, but I hope they will be higher stakes soon. At different LA casinos, maybe the 5-5-10 game I host at Hustler. But I wanted to check out the Gardens scene on this night. Last time I was there, the action was really good, and I ran like shit, and I kind of wanted some revenge. So I get there, and there's one bounty game. That's what I want to play, is the bounty game. And it's full. So I'm in a 5-5-10, and it looks a little bit grindy. It looks a lot of bit grindy. Anyways, I sit down, and anytime there's a new player, there's a $25 no limit hold'em single board bomb pot, and that's what we do. I have 10-9 offsuit. I'm the small blind, and it comes ace 10 deuce, 2 hearts. I don't have a heart. We check to the new pro on the button. He bets, and I just fold. I don't know if people are semi-bluffing in bomb pots. There's 8 people in with unlimited or uncapped ranges because it's bomb pot. And I don't know if I should be calling here with middle pair, a bluff catcher and an 8-way pot with a bunch of players behind. I think it's a fold, and that's what I did. And everyone else did as well. So when you're feeling cursed, I think you're less patient. You just want to battle anytime someone could be light. And I didn't there. I just folded. And then next hand was my button. And I opened King 10 offsuit. So it's 5-5-10. They fold to me. I open for $30, and the small blind jams for $180. Okay. I fold. I don't know anything about the small blind. I don't know if he deserves action or not, but I just fold. And then I over limp pocket fours. Everyone's in there limping. I'm in there limping with the fours, of course. And the big blind, the biggest blind, the $10 guy, makes it 60. It's just an old Asian man. I don't know anything about him. And someone calls in front of me. So I call, and someone calls behind me. So we got a 4-way bloater. And I have pocket fours. And it comes 3-3-2. And the guy bets 60. The guy who made it 60 bet 60 again. And he's across the table from me. I can't really see how much he has. His hands are covering his chips. But after the first guy folds, I call, and we're heads up going to the turn, which is another 3. So 3-3-2-3. And I have pocket fours. That's a boat. And it's not a great boat, but it's a boat. And it's the Gardens. And he bets $100. And I say, how much are you playing? And that's it. The chips that he's hiding are $1 chips. So I don't know. There's 360 before he bets. So I'm getting 4.6 to 1 on a call with a boat against an unknown man at the Gardens. Yeah, I call. He has pocket kings. Okay. That's not fun. Not a fun start. You fold the bluff catcher. I think it's correct. You open and you get jammed on. That's annoying. You make a boat. It's no good. Kind of annoying. And then I fold for a while. And then I raise 8-4 diamonds after someone limps. And this young knit pro in the small blind squeezes. And I begrudgingly fold. I don't like folding to pros. I don't like folding anything in position. But alas, we are not deep because the cap is $800 and it's 5-5-10. So you start every hand with 80 bigs, unless you could win a pot, which I can't. So just fold. And then there's a raise and a call, and I fold Jack 9 offsuit. This is public game life. No, I'm folding that. And it really does make you appreciate private games. It makes me appreciate the games of the Lucky Lady, especially on Lucky Lady Casino Live. Those games are just out of control action, and which means you can get in there with more hands because everyone else is in there with everything. But here you can't. And yeah, I just don't know. Maybe I'll change my mind on if it's a good idea or a bad idea for me to play on the show. I don't know. But for now, I chose to play at some LA casinos on this night, or the Gardens for now, and the game sucks and nothing's happening for me early on. Another bomb pot. They do these bomb pots all the time. Anytime new player sits, new dealer, if they bring over a setup, whether you take it or not, they just do these bomb pots. Anytime someone sneezes, and so on. So I'm the button, and it's a bomb pot. That means we all have 25 in there, or we each have 25 in there. So 200 in the pot, and I have ace-4 offsuit, and it comes king-queen 4 with, it comes king-queen 5, I should say. And it's all spades. Well, I have the ace of spades, so I'm on the button, and I have the nut flush draw. And it checks to me. I bet 120 into 200. I don't know. And guess who calls? The guy who had kings. This old nit. I call him a nit because he had kings. He calls, and just something about the way he calls tells me, do not put another chip in this pot unless you hit. Well, the turn is a jack, giving me a straight draw to go along with my nut flush draw. He checks, and I check back. The river's an ace. I have top pair. He tosses out 300, and I snap fold. Okay, so missed the draw. The combo. Maybe he flopped the flush, so maybe the straight draw wasn't applicable, but certainly the nut flush draw was. And just add some more chips and wait. And then I finally open another hand, and that same young knit pro 3-bets again from the small blind. Fucking fold. Add more. And Aaron Queskin is at the table next to me, sending me bad beat stories via text from the next table. I lost with this set. I lost with that set. I don't know how he flops sets. I don't know how people do that. But he should be sending me drinks. Instead, he's sending me bad beat stories. Because I went into this session pretty damn sober, and I don't like it. No, this game is crusty, and I wish I wasn't sober. All right. Well, I get another good spot. On the button, I open with queens. I get 2 calls, including the one true recreational player at the table. The flop comes 7-6-4 rainbow. First guy checks. The true rec leads. And I don't remember how much he led for, maybe $60. And I just decide this guy's never leading a hand that beats queens. He would check, and go for a check raise. I know that like sometimes good players will lead sets and whatnot, but I just decide I'm going with this hand. So I make it 200. The other guy folds, and the true rec goes all in for 800. Snap call. 764 rainbow. I got queens. And, is this an overplay? I don't think so. This is the true rec. This is not the one of the other, the 6 nits at the table. This is someone you're happy to get queens in with in a single raise pot on 764 rainbow. Turns a deuce, and he stands up to grab his stuff. So I'm pretty confident in my queens. And the river is an 8, and he just kind of looks at me like, I don't got it. I thought probably he had a 5 in his hand and this made him a straight, but he just kind of looks at me like, show your hand, please. I don't have shit. So I show my hand, and then he turns over 8-7 offsuit. Okay, buddy. So he got all in with top pair and a gutter against my overpair. He rivered me and inadvertently slow rolled me. Fun stuff. And now I'm handing my ID to the chip runner. It's always fun when you've lost every hand you've played and you've been adding chips and now you need a full rebuy and they need your ID. It's, what is it called? The scarlet letter. It's just like, it's embarrassing. It's not fun. It's just what it is. So I get my chips and I straddle. Yeah, this'll fix things. And so it's 5, 5, 10, 20. I'm the 20. And they all, a bunch of them limp. I look down at ace 5 offsuit, 40 bigs deep. And I don't think anyone has anything. And you may be wondering, how do you know? I am hypersensitive. Just, especially when I'm sober, which I still am at this point, which might be a huge tactical error. None of them have anything, so I just say, here, guys, have it all. And I go all in for 800 with ace 5 offsuit. And I get a call. I get a call, and everyone else folds, and I say, here's my hand, ace 5 offsuit, and he says, you're good. I said, okay. And he doesn't have Kevin, he has Mr. Kevin. Ludicrous favorite hand, Mr. Kevin. That's King 7 suited. King 7 in a suit. And he wins. And I'm fucking rebuying again. Okay. And the 20 is on. Again, someone else does it. Someone else has a pulse. And someone raises the 80. And it's a tight player. And I just call with ace jack suited. Ace jack of clubs. Because there's just no wiggle room. There's no 3-betting and folding. So if you're 3-betting, you're getting it in. And I'm not sure I want to get it in with this hand. With these dealers. Against these filthy nits. And their super tight ranges. So I just call and the flop comes out all red. All right, I said I wasn't feeling cursed. But this is a bad run. It's a succession of negative variance that has characterized the last year and a half of my poker career. All right, well then, as soon as you complain in your notes, you make a flush. So I made a flush. Problem is, it was flush under flush. Oh my God. Good thing I have a good rapport with the chip runner. He's just like, he's just standing behind me, like staying loose, just like, jogging in place, just, making sure he's loose for every time I play a hand and he has to go get me more chips. And that's good. And it's time for another bomb pot. And I'm the fucking button again. Okay. I have 6-3 offsuit. And, there's 8 of us in for 25 each. And it comes 6-4 deuce with 2 hearts. Okay. I have top pair, gut shot straight draw, and a backdoor heart draw. Checks to me. I bet 100 into 200, and crusty old nit makes it 300. And it gets back to me, and I fold my hand face up. I say, get me out of here. I walk to the bar. That's where Aaron Queskin is. He didn't have one of those sessions where he posts his result on X. He had a bad one, apparently. So he's waiting for me there with a beer and a cocktail, and this is a lot more like it. And we just sit there and shoot the shit, have our drinks, and I take my time. I'm in no hurry to get back to my filthy, grindy game. And then he's going to take off, say, all right, man, see you later. And I go back, and my game has broken. They're going, they drew for seats to some other crusty game. And I just tell Miss Scorsese, let's get out of here. She's like, yeah, my 5-5 game is horrible. And I don't know. I think it's the first time I've ever gone to Gardens and thought it was like Vegas bad in terms of action. You play poker in Vegas. you better fold. You better have a VPIP below 30 or you're dead. You're dead. It's filthy. Grindy. Well, it's the first time I've ever seen Gardens like this. The game I was in, hard game, small sample size, but let's get the fuck out of here. Let's go check out Commerce. I haven't played here in a long time. So we go to Commerce, and I tell her where to park in the back, and that is not where you park anymore because you can't even enter through the back, and it's just been so long since I was a Commerce reg. Used to park in the back. We'd play basketball out there, all the regs, all the 10, 20, 20, 40 no limit regs. We'd play basketball. Well, I don't know if they even have the court anymore. They have some huge tent that looks like maybe it's their tournament area. I don't know what's going on, but we had to walk around the building. Went to the front, asked the guy, what's the biggest no limit you got? He said 510. She said, you got to get a player's card, you scan yourself in, and you'll get called. I said, okay, we'll go do all that stuff. And so I get in a 510. There are a bunch of them going. And I look over, and I see this super VIP from back in the day. He's aged better than I have. But he is the reason, if you will. And I said, what are they playing? And some pro at my table says 40-80, 5K minimum. I said, no limit? He said, yeah. So I put myself on the board for that game. Now this game, the 40-80 no limit, has a super VIP. This guy got me. I offered anyone a drink at the table one time, and he ordered the most expensive bottle of wine, and it was fine. I didn't care. He played me heads up, and he didn't win, and so it was fine that he stung me. I want to say it was $2K, but it doesn't make sense that they would have a $2,000 bottle of wine. Maybe that was just the combined tab of everything that was ordered. But anyways, that was, what was that? That was like 12 years ago. And anyways, so I'm on the list for that. And that game, the bigger game, has him, and then it has like 7 fucking grinders. So I don't even know if it's a good game, if it's worth playing. But I'm gonna play it because you only live once, and I'm getting up there in age. I got to make this comeback, this impossible comeback. Poker's a part of it. So if there's a 40-80 no limit game with a super VIP, I got to get in there, no matter who else is in there. But I just put my name on the list for that, and I'm playing my 5-10 game, which isn't great, doesn't compare to the Lucky Lady games. If those games are 10s, and they are, every time you play on Lucky Lady Casino Live, it's pretty much a 10. Gardens was a 3. These games, the one I'm in, the 5-10, is maybe a 6. There's one true recreational player in this game too. Everyone else is trying to earn. And even that true recreational player is tanking his balls off every decision, against all these people, pros, I guess, trying to earn. But the structure is much better for me. It's 5-10 and $1,500 cap. So I got 150 bigs, and you're not allowed to straddle, but I will talk the table into doing dead 20s and some dead 40s. But to get things started, it's just, there's more wiggle room. What I said you don't have at Gardens. There's just not much play. Well, there's much more play in this 5-10. So I'm fairly patient, just kind of, sipping on a cocktail and, checking out the table. And then I finally get ace jack offsuit. And I 3-bet that bitch out of position. And a Spanish pro, I believe. A pro, I think Spanish. His friend was at the table. He had other friends coming up. Living that, poker pro crew life. He calls, and I'd seen him. He's got a little bit of fancy play syndrome. He battles a little bit. And so I have ace jack offsuit with the ace of clubs. And the flop comes out queen high with 3 clubs. I have the nut flush draw. And I continuation bet a third of the pot. He calls. The turn's a break. I check. He bets. I check raise. And he thinks and folds. Okay. So I was able to actually play some poker here. I could check raise. And there were consequences if he was wrong. If he called and I had it. Or, had him beat. I had chips behind. So that was kind of nice. And then another pro opened late. And I recognized him. He played on HCL once. And I 3-bet him with queens out of position. He called. And look at this. Ace, jack, and queens. I'm a grinder too. I just realized that. And I led on, 3 small cards. I led a third of the pot. And he called. I expect him to call his entire range. And the way it works is when someone 3-bets out of position and it comes 3 small cards, they lead a third pot. And if they don't have it, they check. And if they have it, they keep betting. That's probably not how the training site folks drew it up, but that's just reality. So I'm going to use that to my advantage, and I'm going to check the turn with my overpair, something people typically only do when they don't have an overpair. And this kid bets. And I just, you have to tell the story that you're just calling with like ace high or something. And I told that story non-verbally, and I checked the river card as well. And this guy started counting out all his chips. So I don't know how big this pot is. It's not that big. It's maybe $1,000. And if he jams 22,000 or whatever, I'm folding. Because I think I have about 2,000 to start the hand. But if he jams, I'm folding. But he doesn't. He value bets or puts out a value bet. I snap call and he says, you got it. So now that I have won the first pot with the check raise on the turn with plenty of equity, and the second one, turning over queens, I feel like I can start spewing. And so I do. I start getting in there. I start 3-betting, and everything is working. Every time I have air, they fold. Every time I have a pair and go for thin value, I get called by worse. So I'm running good in really non-obvious ways. And the turning point in this part of the session, so the turning point in the session was getting the fuck out of Gardens on this night. But the turning point at Commerce is the following hand. It's the same kid who had, when I had queens and he called the 3-bet and then he took the betting lead on the turn, or he bet when I checked to him and then he bet the river as well, and my queens were good. Now he opens the button and I have ace queen offsuit and I 3-bet from one of the blinds. And he calls. And it comes king X and I bet a third of the pot. And he calls and something just doesn't feel right. I have the range advantage. I'm inclined to try and win on this board, but just something doesn't feel right. And on the turn, I just check, he bets, and I just fold. This is a hero fold for me. If I 3-bet a button open and it comes king X, I'm going to try and win this pot. And that might just mean calling on the turn, but it might mean barreling. It might mean getting creative. But I just folded, and he showed me he had ace king. So it's kind of a cooler pre-flop, and he flopped trips, and I just lost the minimum for me, for sure. And it was just all I was kind of in the flow state. And, I was talking to people, and the guy on my left, the recreational tanker, he said, "You look like an older version of DGAF." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, he's like 28, isn't he? You look like an older version of him." I said, "You're saying I look older than 28 years old?" And he just kind of like, "Yeah." That's the thing, man. If you're on the grind for 8 years, it's going to age you. I used to look so young for my age. No one says that anymore. And then if you lose weight, and I've lost 35 pounds off my peak, you look even older. And you don't sleep, yeah, you look old. And people, and men especially, are happy to tell you that. But he thought I resembled DGAF, but an older version. I thought it was kind of funny. And what do we got here? We got a interesting situation. We have a multi-way bloater. I got the whole table except for one old guy that I've been bluffing relentlessly. So like super old Asian guy, he's playing out of Iraq, and not Iraq, but Iraq. And he's the only one not doing the dead 20, and he's nice and he's smiling, and I don't care. Anytime I want to win a pot, I just overbet against him, and it's working. Well, anyways, someone else is the dead 20 in this, and it's a multi-way bloater, single raised pot, but the big blind's 20. And I have 5-6 offsuit. I'm in there, of course. Comes 9-7-4, rainbow, and it's a pretty good flop for 5-6. We all check. Okay, and the turn comes out in slow motion. It's a 3. And now there's a flush draw out there. And your protagonist, Dragon Man, has the nuts. The nut straight. Well, I've been spewing my balls off. Overbetting anytime I want them to fold. Betting smaller when I want them to call. That really high level shit. Well, I just go ahead and bet here. Why? Because everyone checked the flop. Of course I would try and steal this pot. I just happen to have the nuts. And the tanking wreck, who said I look like an older version of DGAF, raises. Beautiful. It gets back to me, and I go ahead and make it 800. And he calls pretty quickly. Beautiful. The river's a 10. So I would lose to 8-6, but I'm really not too concerned that he has 8-6. And he says, "You better go all in." And I said, "You got it." And I go all in. 2,400. And he snap calls. And he's got 8-6. No. I don't know what he has. I turn over my hand, and it's good. And it's one of those easy hands. It's one of those chosen one hands. And man, you can go a long time without getting dealt these. Like, you have the nuts on the turn, you got raised, and the guy's not folding your 3-bet. That's some Mariano shit right there. It's some new pro shit. And the dealer I go way back with and was telling stories about me to the table. His name's Kevin, and I was tipping him good. I almost tipped him 100 after this one, and I gave him 25. That's plenty. That's fucking plenty. But I go way back with him, and it's a nice pot. I didn't do anything. I just did what anyone else would do. And that's when you are younger, you're like, "Oh, I'm so good." No, I ran so good. That's for sure. And I just was in the zone all night, including I 3-bet with Jack 8 offsuit against someone that I could target, that I was deep against in position. And this grizzled, not nearly as grizzled as I am, but this grizzled pro at the other end of the table, you can tell the new pros and the old pros. So he's just an old pro because he's drinking beer. The new pros are not drinking beer. The old pros, they need to. They need to numb their senses a little bit. They need to, keep the wheels from rubbing, as the drive-by truckers would say. So it was time. It was just time for this guy to make a move. And so he called 4-bet. And I just kind of clicked it back with Jack 8 offsuit. And he showed Jack 3 offsuit and folded. And I showed him my hand. And that was it. I was down. I lost a hoopty at the Gardens. I won it back at Commerce and another hoopty. So I won a hoopty that I'll be taking to my other job at Cal Worthington Dodge, and hopefully Cal will be happy that I'm bringing him some new inventory. Not new, but you know what I'm saying. I think it was 3 a.m. now on Tuesday, May 6th, and time for me to call it a night. You want to know what happens next? You know where to go. Patreon.com/DGAF Poker Player. That's where you get the real shit. Okay, let's check the goals of the year, and then let's get you all out of here. 50-50 tilt. I want to tilt only half my poker weeks, and I did not tilt on this night. So I have 9 weeks of no tilt and 10 weeks of tilt, and I know it's only week 18, but that's because my sound guy who does my accounting made an error at some point. No, he counted sessions instead of weeks for 1 week, and he's human, barely. So, anyways, 9 no tilts, 10 tilt. All right, I'm making progress. No makeup. I started the year $61,810 in makeup. Just a couple weeks ago, I was over $90,000 in makeup. I'm at 71,960. Got a lot of work to do, but luckily, I got a lot of work ethic, don't I? Okay, and then the last one is 230. I want to weigh 230 or less by the end of the year. Started at 247.3, got up to 260 the year before, but started this year at 247.3. Last week I was at 224.9. I weighed myself before I hit record. I was at 225.8. So in the wrong direction, but not by much, and still beating the goal. And I haven't had time to do my daily walks around Long Beach, but after I hit stop on this one and produce it and do some other work, I'm going for a motherfucking walk around Long Beach before I go in and commentate. And that's the story. Have a good week. Peace.